Ladies and gentlemen, we are back to give you the official picks for UFC Vegas 105, Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. But before we get into that, I'll give you a little bit of a life update. So, as you could tell, I haven't uploaded any long-form videos to the YouTube channel for a week and a half. I haven't been able to post much on my Instagram either because, if you don't know, I posted on my Instagram and here on YouTube. My father unexpectedly passed away, so that was a bit of a shock, and I appreciate everyone that reached out, commented, left me some love. I appreciate every single one of you. It means everything to me. But over the past week, there's a lot you got to deal with. Doing that, I had to drive back to my home state of Wisconsin, all the way from the South Florida. So that took about 2 days, and ultimately just been hanging out with family and trying to get over this. But ultimately, we're back on the grind. I'm in my dad's old office, and my parents live out in the boonies, so the connection here isn't exactly the best. I did order a Starlink, so maybe that'll help improve the connection. So I haven't been able to live stream at all, and until I improve that connection, I'm not able to live stream, and uploading these YouTube videos takes quite a long time. So I'll try to do my best to prepare for that time that it takes to upload all this stuff, and I'll try to get back on my normal schedule, but bear with me throughout it. I got all my tape study done on Sunday, Monday, and early on Tuesday. I'm recording this on Tuesday. I'll probably post it on Wednesday. But I got all my official picks. This is what we do, boys. Back to the grind. Gun to your head. The cartel is waterboarding you, saying, give me your official pick. Who is going to win every single fight on UFC Vegas 105. Appreciate y'all for bearing with me through that little life update. But let's get into it. You know the drill. We got to scroll all the way to the bottom. We start with the first fight of the night. We got some women's MMA. Vanessa Demopolous and Talita Alencar. Probably the most disgusting matchup you could think of at women's strawweight because both of these girls are undersized. Both of them rely on their jiu-jitsu, and both of them are very poor strikers. So it's going to look ugly on the feet. It's probably going to look a little bit ugly on the ground because both of them are decent on the ground. I guess Talita probably has the more accolades in the jiu-jitsu realm, but Demopolous has a lot more experience in MMA with her jiu-jitsu, and I wouldn't say she's like a deadly grappler by any means, and she just got submitted her last fight, but I think she can handle herself on the ground against Talita, who isn't a Jacqueline Amarim. She's not a Jacqueline because Jacqueline is tall, long, and really dangerous when she is on top of you on the ground and has your back. I don't know that Talita can really get to those spots in this fight against Vanessa. I think Vanessa has actually improved her game a lot since she's been in the UFC. Her striking has improved a lot, and I think she could use that to win this fight. I think if she could keep it on the feet, she could clearly outstrike Talita Alencar, who's not a good striker at all. I forget who I was breaking down a couple weeks ago, but I was talking about Talita Alencar and how bad she is on the feet. She is just terrible, like whiffing every single shot. She's super hittable, and I think Vanessa, with her forward pressure, if she can stuff the takedowns, I think she can just outstrike her on the feet. And I think that's probably what happens. I think it probably goes to a decision. Even if Alencar does get her to the ground, I don't think she's that dangerous that she's just going to lock up a submission instantly like Amarim did. So give me Vanessa Demopolous to win this one. She'll be my official pick this week. I think she's got more UFC experience. I think her skills overall are better as long as she can stay safe on the ground when it is there. I think she wins the fight. So give me Vanessa Demopolous to win this fight, probably by decision. And as always, the judges in Vegas love themselves some Vanessa Demopolous. So give me Vanessa for the official pick. Let's move on. Victor Henry, Pedro Falcao. Pedro is an interesting one here because he's been off for quite some time. His only UFC fight was a UFC debut against Victor Hugo, and I rate Victor Hugo pretty well. I think he's a solid fighter who's a tough fight for a lot of guys, and I think his last fight was against Farid Basharat, and he gave Basharat a pretty tough fight. So that's his only UFC fight. I didn't think he looked too bad in it, but he did show some holes, and I'm interested to see if Victor Henry can exploit that. Pedro on the feet, he's a little bit hittable, and he's not really a guy that's going to be out there pumping 1-2s, chopping leg kicks, and looking really sharp. In his UFC fight, he was really trying to look for the takedown, and Victor Hugo was just kind of stuffing him. I think Victor Henry can land a good amount of volume on Pedro. But if Pedro can push him up against the cage, maybe get a few takedowns, land some more impactful shots when he's mixing in the takedowns, maybe some elbows in the clinch, some hard leg kicks, a couple big left hooks. I know he likes the left hook. So I'm kind of leaning towards Pedro just based on the betting line, but this is a official pick show. And if I think this fight's probably going to go to a decision, which I probably think it does, I think Victor Henry might just be able to outwork him slightly to where it's a really close decision, and I think Victor Henry probably gets his hand raised. I think it could come down to a split. If there's anybody that finishes this fight, I think it's probably Pedro, and it's probably by a submission. But Victor Henry went for a very long time in his career by never getting subbed and never getting KO'd until his last one against Charles Jourdain, where he was the one looking for the takedowns, stuff his head into a guillotine, and he tapped. If he tries to offensively wrestle with Pedro Falcao, that's just stupid. Okay, he has a clear speed and volume edge, in my opinion, against Pedro. If he takes that game plan, I think he could probably win a decision. So I'm going to take Victor Henry for the official pick. I would not bet him at minus 200 or wherever he's at, just because I think it's going to be a close fight, and I think it's probably going to end up in the hands of the judges, and I don't want any part of that on Victor Henry. So Victor Henry is the official pick, but I would lay off. Let's move on. Loma Lookboonmee, Estela Nunes. I was interested to look to see if I could find any possibility to look at Estela Nunes to win this fight. And ultimately, I just can't do it, man. I think she's a solid striker who has pretty solid boxing, but she doesn't have good cardio. She doesn't have good takedown defense, and her ground game is pretty abysmal. And Loma, being from Thailand, being a Muay Thai specialist mainly, she's really improved her ground game over the past, 2 to 3 years. She's been training in Bangtao. I know she's with Big John Wood now as well when she comes over to the U.S. in Las Vegas. So that's good for her. I think they've kind of used a lot of what they used with Zhang Wei Li in taking Loma, who's a good athlete, a little bit shorter for the weight class, and just picking your shots on the feet and then mixing in the takedowns and just being very strong when you're on top. I think that's probably what she does here. I think Loma uses her range pretty well. She's not a girl that stands in front of you and just wants to trade. She wants to pick her shots from the outside. Even though she is so small, she has a good ability to judge range. So I think she'll stay out of the range of Estela Nunes. And if Nunes wants to crash in, she'll probably look to body lock, look for the trips, and get her down to the ground. And I think she'll be able to get a good amount of top time in this fight, win the minutes that way, maybe find a submission later in the fight because Estela cardio is not very good. She just hasn't had a good run in the UFC. So Loma Lookboonmee is going to be the official pick this week. She's a big favorite. That's the reason why I was kind of looking to see if there's anything I can get from Estela Nunes in this fight to make me believe in her, and I just can't really do it. So give me Loma Lookboonmee for the official pick. Let's move on. Reese McKee, Daniel Frunza. It's an interesting matchup. I actually think this fight could end up being fight of the night worthy because both guys aren't really grapplers. Both guys want to stand and strike, and both guys can take a punch and they can give a punch. So Reese McKee, 0-4 in the UFC, maybe 0-5, but he's fought some tough guys. And Daniel Frunza, I remember him from the Contender Series. I kind of believed in him to beat the guy Vadim Kutsi because Kutsi is kind of round one or bust. And ultimately, he kind of took a beating from Kutsi in round one. And then Kutsi just completely fell off, like death gassed, 7 minutes into the fight. And Frunza was able to just TKO him because Kutsi had nothing left. Reese McKee's not going to die after 7 minutes. He's got 15 minutes of cardio. He's fairly durable. He's been KO before, but one was a ground and pound by Khamzat Chimaev, and I don't see Daniel Frunza isolating a wrist and just TKO him. And Frunza doesn't really have much of a ground game. So I think it's a stand-up battle where Reese McKee's a taller, longer guy with more UFC experience that I think could touch up Frunza because Frunza kind of needs to eat a couple to give a couple. He does like to walk forward and march you down. But if Reese can just pop the jab out there, use his footwork from the outside, touch him up while he's moving backwards, I think he can. I think he has the abilities to do so. I think it just comes down to game plan for Reese McKee. And I'm going to take Reese McKee because I trust that he's 0-4 in the UFC. Kind of needs a win here. I'm not a huge believer in Daniel Frunza as far as he's going to have a high ceiling in the UFC. I think Reese McKee can pick up a dub here. So I'm going to take Reese McKee for the official pick. I think it'll probably go to a decision, a or at least, Reese McKee can maybe finish him in the late third round. I doubt it, but I think it probably goes to a decision where Reese McKee is landing a bunch of significant strikes. Daniel Frunza is getting popped with that jab, getting hit with some 1-2s, some T kicks up the middle, and I think Reese McKee gets his hand raised. Give me Reese McKee for the official pick. Let's move on. Deonna Belbita, Deonna Barbosa, not going to take long on this one because Deonna Barbosa looks to be getting set up here, and it looks like Deonna Belbita is going to get her walking papers very soon because last time out, she got submitted by Molly McCann. And if you know anything about the UFC, getting submitted by Molly McCann in, 2024? It's a terrible look. It's a terrible look. Especially for the fact that she got picked up, dumped on her back, got put into mount, and then with 10 seconds left, Molly McCann rolls for an armbar, and she gets it. She pretty much dislocated her elbow. It's disgusting. Barbosa, very good grappler. Sure, wrestling isn't the best, but Deonna doesn't have the best takedown defense. So I think Deonna Barbosa will probably be able to get the fight to the ground and find a submission, or at least hold her there for extended periods of time. Where it gets interesting is if Deonna Barbosa comes in with a terrible game plan and wants to strike with Deonna Belbita, because Belbita is not a bad striker. She is fairly hittable, and she doesn't have much pop on her shots, but she does have good volume, and she will march you down, and she will kind of build into the fight as it goes. Like, she will get better into the second and the third if she can get into a groove. So if Barbosa comes out here and wants to strike with Belbita, absolute tard stuff, but she could lose doing that. Let's just keep it a buck. Barbosa's not the best striker. She hits hard, but she doesn't have a lot of volume, and she is hittable herself. So this one comes down to if Barbosa has a brain, and I'm going to assume she has a brain. So give me Barbosa for the official pick. She probably gets it done by submission. Davy Grant, Daniel Santos. Davy Grant is he's still kicking, man. He's 39, and he's coming off a great win against Ramon Tavares where he didn't look 39 at all. And I think Daniel Santos hasn't been active enough to come in here and put on his best performance. Maybe he's made some improvements, but I think Davy Grant can win this one. My only worry for Davy Grant is he's a guy that likes to keep his range. He has really good footwork, and he's very effective from fighting off the back foot. And my only worry is that we're in the Apex. It's a smaller cage, and Daniel Santos will probably be able to cut him off a little bit more often than Davy Grant is used to. If you get him in a big cage, it's very tough to track down Davy Grant because he is so effective at moving around and popping you with a couple and then getting out. Santos is probably going to need to grapple in this one, and I don't know that he has the wrestling to get it to the ground to be successful with that grappling. Could he outstrike Davy Grant? Sure, but it's going to be competitive. It's going to be competitive. Davy Grant has always had a solid chin. He's always had solid volume. He's got solid power. The only real flaw in his game is sometimes he gets taken down. He can get put on his back, but he does have a dangerous submission game. And Daniel Santos, I don't think he's going to submit Daniel Santos, but he could give him some problems there. And Santos, I don't think is some amazing grappler. I know he trains at Shoot the Box, Diego Lima, but I don't see him going out there and just submitting Davy Grant. So ultimately, I think Davy Grant probably wins this fight by decision, just being more active, landing some good shots. Daniel Santos is very hittable, and if he can stuff takedowns, I think he makes it a unanimous decision to the judges' scorecard. So give me Davy Grant for the official pick this week. I think he gets it done. Buday Osbourne, Louis Gurule. Interesting one because Buday's on a 3-fight skid. He's probably fighting for his job here. And Gurule is 10-0, and we know the undefeated curse in 2025 is rearing its ugly head. And Gurule could be a victim here, but I think Gurule is solid enough to get a win over Buday Osbourne. Buday, not a high-volume guy, kind of relies on a lot of explosive movements. His offensive wrestling isn't that great. His offensive jiu-jitsu isn't that great. His defensive jiu-jitsu isn't good. His defensive wrestling isn't good. So I think it really just comes down to, can Buday Osbourne catch him with something big and put him out? Because Buday's not out here winning a ton of decisions. He's kind of got to catch you with a shot and put you away, or jump on the back and find a submission. I don't know that he's going to do that. The thing here is Buday has a big size and reach advantage, which could give Gurule some problems. But Gurule is like a fluid striker from the outside who throws a good amount of volume. And I think he could actually offensively wrestle Buday Osbourne in this fight to make it a little bit easier. You know, Buday's going to come in hot in round 1 with his explosive techniques. And maybe Gurule just, you know, throws him up against the cage, looks for some takedowns early, zap that gas tank a little bit, and then we get into round 2 and 3. Gurule's got good cardio, and then I think he could pull away a little bit. So I think Gurule is the rightful favorite. I think it's a little bit too much, but I think he wins this fight just based on durability, cardio, overall skill set. Striking's good, wrestling's good, and he's kind of a guy that just doesn't fuck off. Like he's just there hitting you with shots, and you got to be on your P's and Q's. Otherwise, he's going to make you pay for it. And I just don't know that Buday has that in his bag to be on his P's and Q's for 15 minutes. Could finish him early, but I don't really think so. Give me Louis Gurule for the official pick. Let's go to the main card. Torres, Finney, and Robert Valentin. Torres making his UFC debut. Look at that body, dude. Oh, my God. Just all pecs, all shoulders, all traps, all head. And he's, 5'8". So I'm huge on the Contender Series. I know Torres pretty well. And honestly, I'm just not a big believer in the guy. He can get some wins in the UFC, but he's never going to be a top 15 fighter. Like unless he just absolutely improves his striking by 1,000,000%. He's just not going to be. He just doesn't have any striking. It's all explosive takedowns, rinse and repeat. He doesn't have really good jiu-jitsu. He doesn't have smothering top pressure. He does have smothering top pressure, I should say that, but he doesn't really land a ton of ground and pound unless he's got your back and you're flattened out. Other than that, he can't really land a ton of ground and pound. He does have a freakishly long reach for being 5'8", which is good for him, I guess. On the other side, Robert Valentin, I think the guy could come in here and pull off an upset just because I don't see Torres taking him down and doing what Ryan Loder did to him in his last fight. Torres isn't out here isolating arms, putting you in a crucifix, landing elbows. He's looking for explosive takedowns, pick you up, slam you, and then kind of rinse and repeat. And I think Torres could maybe win a decision that way against Robert Valentin. But Valentin, very solid jiu-jitsu, dangerous on the feet, really good knees up the middle, really good timing on his shots. And he is kind of a dog. He's a dangerous dude, very dangerous. My only worry is how you supposed to submit Torres Finney? The dude doesn't have a neck. It's all traps. You can't fit an arm underneath that chin. So if he does get a point where he could get a submission and he doesn't get it, does he get discouraged? Does he lose position? And then Torres is on top, and then Torres is like, I got out of it. I'm going to just start raining down some bombs. And if Valentin gets to that point where he has a submission, but he just can't find a neck because it's not there, then I'll live with it. But I think Valentin can win this fight, man. I'm not a huge believer in Finney. I think Valentin's a big dude for 185. He fought at 205 before. Solid striking, solid jiu-jitsu. His wrestling I don't think is the best, but I don't know that Torres is going to be doing a ton of damage when he gets these takedowns. So give me Robert Valentin for the official pick this week. I'll take him to upset the Dana White Contender Series, 3-time Dana White Contender Series alum, Torres Finney. Let's move on. Brad Tavares, Gerald Meerschaert. I don't know how these guys have not fought before. I don't know how this hasn't happened. These guys were born 3 days apart. Gerald Meerschaert was born 3 days before Brad Tavares. They've both been in the UFC forever. Always been at middleweight. How have they not fought before? But I'm glad that they are, because it's a tale of two journeymen. And Gerald Meerschaert, I love the guy. I absolutely love GM3 just because he's always counted out. He's almost always an underdog. And sometimes he just finds a way. And when he finds that way, it's like, oh my God, here it comes. Gerald Meerschaert just almost got absolutely nuked. And now he's on top. And now he's looking for a submission. Boom, he's got it. But sometimes he does get nuked. And sometimes he does lose a decision. So what's going to happen here? It's probably going to be Brad Tavares winning most of the striking exchanges, stuffing early takedowns. And then we get into round 2 and 3. Can Brad Tavares stuff the takedowns for 3 rounds? Well, he didn't stuff the takedowns for 3 rounds against Jun Young Park. He didn't stuff the takedowns for 3 rounds against Gregory Rodriguez. So if GM3 can get those late takedowns, we know GM3 is absolutely disgusting on the ground. Like if you give Gerald one chance at a submission, he's going to lock it up and he's probably going to finish it. Brad's never been submitted. He has been knocked out. He has lost decisions. I don't know that Gerald's going to win a ton of minutes in this fight. So ultimately, I would probably lean towards the Tavares side. But I love me some GM3, baby. Give me GM3. He's my official pick this week. I think he can match some of the striking from Brad. Brad's just not a super dangerous guy. And Brad just doesn't have a ton of wins in the last 5 to 10 years. He just doesn't. So give me GM3 to win this one. Big dog. But I think if he continues the pace, continues looking for those takedowns, gets him down to the ground late, I think he could snatch something up. So give me GM3, baby. All right, well, my camera just took a dive on me in my makeshift studio, so hopefully that does not happen again. I was a little scared the camera broke, but let's continue the official picks video. Bear with me, all right? I'm not on my normal studio, so hopefully that don't happen again. Let's move on. Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Martin Buday. Let's just be real here, boys, okay? Let's look at the man on the left. Let's look at the man on the right. Who do you think is going to win this fight? Give me the man on the left, okay? Give me the Nigerian against a fat blob Martin Buday. Okay, Kennedy is actually a solid fighter. I think he comes in here, outstrikes Martin Buday, could see a TKO, early second, late second, somewhere around there. But I think he's just going to be able to pepper him on the feet. I think he's way faster than Martin Buday. Buday is probably going to be looking to clinch a little bit up against the cage. And Kennedy, solid takedown defense at 80%. I think he's going to absolutely walk through Martin Buday. Unless Martin can catch him with something, which I don't really see happening. Kennedy really only gets caught against some really solid strikers. And Martin Buday is not that. Okay, he's a guy that went to a very close decision with Lucas Dresky. And what did Kennedy do when he moved up to heavyweight? He's knocking out Lucas Dresky in round 1. So give me Kennedy and Nzechukwu for the official pick. I think he gets this one done pretty easily. He's never a guy that you can really trust that much just because he's kind of inconsistent, but I think he gets it done pretty easily. Give me Kennedy to win. It'll be my official pick. Let's move on. Cortavius Romious, Chang Ho Lee. Chang Ho Lee, I don't know what to think about the guy. I don't know what to think about the guy because he's not good, but he's decent at the same time. Like, I watch his tape, I'm like, I'm not impressed, but I have to respect him. And it's kind of the same thing with Cortavius Romious. Like, he's an amazing athlete who has a pretty solid submission arsenal, but he's so short and his striking is just he's not able to win any real exchanges with his striking. He'll throw a nice body kick, a nice leg kick here and there, but when he looks to throw his hands, it's just so wild. Like, there's no type of technical aspect to his striking to where he's like, all right, I'm going to land this jab, and then I'm going to land a jab, and then I'm going to go 2, and then I'm going to go 3. It's just, I'm going to blitz you with hooks so that you're up against the cage, and then he looks to level change, which I guess it kind of works, but I can't really trust his cardio either. And I think this fight really comes down to, can Cortavius win the fight early on? Can he either finish him early on, or can he bank 2 rounds? Because I don't know that he's going to be able to continue looking for these explosive takedowns for 3 rounds. And I think Chang Ho Lee actually has a decent chance to stuff the takedowns and make him pay for it. Because if he stuffs the takedowns, his clinch game in his last fight against Long Zhao was really nice. And if you're a wrestler and you're looking for takedowns and you're not getting them, and then the guy's clinching you up and he's kneeing you to the body, and you're like, fuck, I'm not good in the clinch here. I like to just be on the legs and look for my takedowns. Then they start to panic a little bit, and I think that could probably zap the gas tank of Romious a lot more than he's used to. On the feet, Chang Ho Lee striking, not good. Wrestling, not great. I think he's probably at a disadvantage just because Cortavius' wrestling is so explosive that he's going to get those takedowns early. Grappling, I don't know. I think it's kind of a toss-up because I think Chang Ho can probably handle himself. I don't know that Cortavius is a guy that's just going to get you down and sub you immediately unless your ground game is just abysmal. Cortavius has a nice armbar, got a nice rear naked choke, but other than that, he's not really like taking you down working his way towards submissions. He's kind of just snatching stuff up after guys make a mistake. So Chang Ho Lee could probably come in here and make a mistake and get subbed, but I don't know that he's really, I don't see that as a high possibility. I think the fight probably goes to a decision where Chang Ho Lee might just be able to win by stuffing the takedowns later in the fight, being effective in the clinch, maybe looking for some takedowns of his own, because I don't think Cortavius is great off his back outside of an armbar. So I am actually going to go with Chang Ho Lee to win this one. I do think Cortavius is a live dog, but if there's a gun to my head, I'll take Chang Ho Lee. I know it's road to the UFC versus Contender Series, which is never something I like to do, is take the road to UFC guy, but I don't know. I think Chang Ho Lee can win this fight in the clinch, and just having the better cardio. So give me Chang Ho Lee. To the co-main event, Pat Sabatini, Joe Anderson, Brito. These are both guys that I kind of like because they both made me some money in some spots, and rarely have they let me down. But Brito did let me down against William Gomez. The problem with Brito is he's just, I don't want to say he's an ego fighter, but he kind of is. Like, he goes out there and he thinks he has the biggest schlong, and he's just looking to throw hands and he's all offense. There's not much thought process to it. Obviously, there's some process of like, I'm going to chop this guy's leg so that he can't walk, but it's like throws everything he has into everything, and sometimes it gets him in trouble. You know, if he comes in here and looks to take the head off of Pat Sabatini, and Sabatini just level changes, puts him on his back, then that's Sabatini's world, and then Sabatini gets a little bit more confidence, and then he might be able to get to the back, and then he might be able to choke him out, because Sabatini is nasty on the ground. Absolutely nasty. And I don't know that he's going to be able to submit Brito, because I think Brito has really solid jiu-jitsu, and I think he's strong enough that if he does get taken down, he can just bully his way up. But there's always the possibility he makes that mistake. And Brito, with his ego, is always liable to make a mistake. Ultimately, I think Brito probably has him covered here. I think Brito probably knocks him out early on, where Sabatini is chinny at times, and just has really no striking to throw out there. I mean, this guy got chinned by Damon Jackson, so it's not a good look there. I think Brito probably catches him early, probably knocks him out, and gets another win. So give me Joe Anderson Brito for the official pick, but buyer beware. Joe Anderson Brito, you can trust that he's going to go in there and fight for your dollar, but you can't always trust that he's going to go in there with a solid game plan. So buyer beware, but Joe Anderson Brito is the official pick. The main event, Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy. This one's pretty simple to me, man. I know a lot of people are going to look at Josh Emmett, and they're going to be looking at Lerone Murphy getting dropped by Dan Ige. He's been dropped a couple times in his UFC career, but he's won all those fights. Okay, every time that Lerone Murphy has been dropped, he has still won. I know it's the year of the undefeated fighter, and that does make me a little bit scared. But I think Lerone Murphy has Josh Emmett covered in almost every aspect, maybe outside of pure power. Like, Josh Emmett does have power, but it's because he throws everything he has into a lot of these shots. And he could knock out Lerone, but what's the possibility of that? I think that's maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 times he knocks out Lerone Murphy. And those other 8 or 9 times, Lerone Murphy is going to win the striking exchanges. He's going to get takedowns, and he's going to outwork you for 3 or 5 rounds. In this case, 5 rounds. And I think that's probably what happens. So most likely outcome, in my opinion, is a Lerone Murphy decision victory, where he's able to use his footwork, his striking to avoid the big shots, win the minutes on the feet, and win the rounds, maybe mixing in some grappling, solid cardio, and an ability to recover. Like, even if Josh Emmett does land a big shot, Lerone has shown he can recover, just take you down, get his wits back about him, and win the round. So I think Lerone Murphy wins this fight. I think it's pretty straightforward to me. Josh Emmett is also 40 years of age. I know he's coming off a viral knockout, but he was out for, over a year? He's been out for a while. So I like Lerone this week. Give me Lerone Murphy for the official pick. I think he gets it done, stays undefeated. I know it's the year of the undefeated fighter. Please, can we just get one undefeated fighter to keep their undefeated record? Give me Lerone Murphy for the official pick. Appreciate y'all for bearing with me. I know this is not up to the quality that I normally have, but got to deal with the circumstances, and I want to get back to the grind, get the content out to you, and get back into the groove of it. So appreciate you for watching. Like the video for me. Subscribe to the channel. We'll try to be back here very soon with the best bets video for this week. We'll have the Long Shots Only live show on Friday as well, and more content coming to you on Instagram. Just appreciate y'all. Until next time, hedge out picks.